How we doing? Hey, it's Flying Gato, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something awesome, and that's the car that I'm in right now. So it's 10 things I love about my BMW 335D. Now, for those of you who don't know, the D stands for diesel. I know I've repeated it a couple times in my previous video, but in case you're new, that's what it stands for. And this particular car, my car, is a tuned example. So I've taken it and it's been tuned, and it has 600 foot-pounds of torque and about 400 horsepower. A little bit less than 400 horsepower, but with that said, let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about my 10 favorite things. About the power. Now, this car stock came with about 275 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. That's what BMW rated it from the factory. I think they underrated it a little bit. Honestly, I think it was closer to 450 foot-pounds of torque and around 300 horsepower, but they did not want to cannibalize any 335i sales to the 335D. Therefore, they downrated it and made it the 335i, the sports-oriented car, and this car, the economy, kind of green-oriented car. With that said, I took what BMW gave us and I made it better. So I tuned it. Now it's got about 600 foot-pounds of torque and a little bit less than 400 horsepower, which is amazing, to say the least. So, in order to do that, you had to modify the emission systems and make the car reliable first, because the emission systems in this car just make this car unreliable. And do a little tune to the computer, and the rest is stock, completely stock turbos, stock internals, stock everything. Completely stock car. So now that it's making this much power, it is an impressive car. The biggest problem with this car now is that I just can't put the power down. It's impossible to get all that power down. Yeah, the tires fight to keep grip. They're not bad tires. So it's just nice to have that much power. It's nice to be on the highway and I need to pass this truck. Quickly pass the truck, no problem at all. It is really good to have that much power under your right foot. Let's take a look at me driving around and dealing with this power.
Deer whistles. The power and the handling of this car is just awesome.
Awesome, right? So another thing I wanted to mention about the power and the motor of this car is that how smooth it is delivering that power. It is an inline 6 or straight 6 engine. So as you know or don't know, it is a harmonically balanced engine, which basically means it's very smooth in its power delivery. Very low or no vibrations, just very smooth power delivery. And it is a twin turbocharged, so it has two turbos, a small one and a big one, and they're sequential. So when the small one kicks in at really low RPM, so you really feel it, and the big one kicks in right after to give you that wallop of power. So that's the power. So my next favorite thing is the miles per gallon. Now normally miles per gallon is not important to me at all. I don't care if it gets me 15 miles per gallon as long as it's fun. But that changed when I started driving this car around in stock form, and it was giving me around 30-35 miles a gallon, and I didn't care about it. I was like, oh, that's not bad at all. After I tuned it on the highway, I can get up to 45 miles to the gallon. That's huge. What that really means to me is that I can drive straight for 600 miles without stopping. So it's got about a 16-gallon tank, so that nets you about 550 to 600 miles to the tank. That's amazing to me. And so, like I said, miles per gallon is not really the most important thing, but when you have such crazy amounts of power, you don't expect to get good gas mileage. This car gets you both. Take a look at my last diesel bill. Just filling it up. And there you have it. $35 gives me between 500 and 600 miles range. Awesome, right? All right, so that's miles per gallon. So, high-speed stability. So high-speed stability, I mean, this car is the most stable car I've ever driven at high speed in Mexico. So, as many of you guys know, this car is made in Germany, and in Germany they have these autobahns, and that's an unrestricted highway that you can go as fast as your car will take you. So, in part because of that, and also in part because this is kind of a sports car, BMW has made this car to be extremely stable at high speeds. I mean, the aerodynamics, the steering feel, everything about this car is made to make you feel secure when you're going at high speed. That could be going 55 miles an hour or 85 miles an hour. To be honest with you, 55 miles an hour in this car feels like you're going 20 miles an hour, to be honest. And sometimes that can get you in trouble. Alright, so the looks of this car. I've always loved the way E90s look, especially the E90 M3. Now this car does not have the M3 bumpers that the E90 has. It doesn't have the special fenders that the E90 has. But it still has a very good look to it, and the Sport Package 335D from 2011, in my opinion, is the best looking 335D. There is an M Sport package with different wheels, and I prefer these wheels to those wheels. Let's take a look at how the car looks. The brakes. The brakes on this car are, again, the best brakes I've ever had on any of my cars. Now, I've had a lot of Hondas in my past, so that's no surprise. Honda tends to undersize their brakes a lot. So when I got this car, I was happily refreshed to see very good brakes on this car. Not just talking about the size of the actual brake rotors or the pads or anything like that, but the brake feel and the way the car stops and the stability when the car stops is unparalleled. So let's take a look at how the brakes are, and I just replaced the rear brakes actually. As we can see here, brakes are massive. These are the front brakes. Just for contrast, these are 19-inch rims, and the front brakes fill them out quite nicely. These have immense stopping power. Really good brakes. Really good in terms of heat absorption as well. That means they won't overheat as much as the Civic, for example, does. Truly a very, very, very good front brake setup. Let's take a look at the rear. So these are the rear brake setup. Now I just upgraded the rotors. Left them stock sized, but I did upgrade the rotor and pads. So the rotor are now slotted, as you can see. And of course, both the front and back are ventilated. And the front even have ducts to channel air through them. But both the back and the front are really big, really good, excellent brakes. Okay, so interior. Now the interior comfort of this car is incredible. There's a reason, or there are two reasons, or three reasons why this car is my main go-to car for long road trips. And one is power, second is fuel efficiency on the highway, and third is the interior comfort. Now, these seats are amazing seats. These are the optional seats. When you order this car, you don't have to choose that option, but it is the extended leather seats, and these are awesome seats. The leather feels really good to touch. It's got the great stitching on it, but really what matters is when you're sitting in it, it has great lumbar support. It's got great back support. My butt, you know, has just enough support so that it doesn't hurt, but it's also not sinking into the seat like a sofa or something like that. It's just a perfect seat now, and as well as the steering wheel is leather padded. Everything is, you know, kind of comfortable. The only gripe that I have is this elbow rest on the door here. It's leather, but it's kind of not enough. Other than that, everything falls to hand for the driver. Everything is right here. Everything is tight, you know, like it should be. So, one of my favorite parts, the interior. Let's take a look around it. So, taking a look at the interior, we see here, this padding is leather. And this is the only thing that I really complain about. It's too thin. See, there's no push at all. That's where you rest your elbow. And I do drive this car very long distances, so when I put my elbow there for a couple hours, it starts to get uncomfortable. Otherwise, it is an excellent interior. Let's take a look at these seats here. Like I said, they have lumbar support down here. These are adjustable. Everything is pretty much adjustable. This car is 6 years old and it's doing quite well. Seats are still in great shape. Here's the adjustability, and that's the memory. This is to adjust lumbar, up and down. More lumbar, less lumbar. Higher, lower. This inflates the lumbar and deflates it. It's really cool. Let's see if you can hear it. Now as it does that, the bolsters get tight as well. It's really cool. It is the best seat I've ever had. Now looking here at the cockpit, the steering wheel is really good. All the buttons are where you'd expect them in a BMW. It's got a proper emergency brake. It's perfect. It's not the nonsense button. The iDrive is outdated, but it still works. Overall, excellent interior. Now the exhausts. The exhaust is awesome on this car. Now the stock exhaust, how the car comes from the factory, it's actually not good. It's very quiet. You don't know what's under the hood. You don't hear the turbos. It's very refined, and that's what this car was kind of built as, you know, the refined diesel economy car from BMW. But once you open that up and you do a little tune and you know, you let the car kind of breathe, you get the best exhaust tone from a car. It sounds like a giant Cummins diesel truck going down the road. So let's go ahead and see and enjoy. Alright, so the sound system in this car is actually another awesome feature that this car has. It has 11 speaker sound system with a nice subwoofer in the back. It's all hidden away, tucked away. It doesn't take away from any of your luggage or space, but it sounds really good. And although I can't play any tunes for you guys to hear it, and it wouldn't come out great on the microphone anyway, this has a great sound system. Now, one of the only issues is that you cannot upgrade it. I mean, it's very difficult to upgrade these kinds of cars, but it's good enough as it is, and it's a really good sound system, especially if you get the premium sound system, which this car does have. It also has Bluetooth radio, and it actually has a hard drive built into this car, so that if you put in CDs, it'll actually copy the songs onto the hard drive, and we'll be able to play it back for you. So I bought this car as an off-lease vehicle, and the previous owner did not know that they left their music in here on the hard drive. Now, it's okay music, but it's just kind of funny. Anyway, so that's the sound system. So, talking about the sound system, one of the main reasons why the sound system sounds so good is that this car has a great sound dampening all around it. Now, that does add a lot of weight to the car, which some people don't like, but it's a great trade-off. It's extremely comfortable on the highway. You barely hear any highway noise, and these are giant tires and wheels, and it's just a really, really refined feel when you get inside. You know, you close the door, and it feels like you're kind of in your own little cocoon here going down the road, and it feels really good. And that's a stark difference to, for example, my S2000 or my Prelude, but especially my S2000, that has a convertible. You basically feel like you're outside the car, which is fine. You know, it's not that kind of car, but this car is very comfortable going down the road, mostly due to sound dampening, and of course the interior. Now, the headlights. So a lot of people don't actually care that much about how their headlights perform when they're buying a car. And actually, when I was buying this car, it wasn't really top of my mind either. The big honking diesel engine in front of it was. But headlights are such an important part of any car, because when you're driving down the road at night and there's no lights around you and there's a deer up ahead, you want to see it. You don't want to hit it. So the headlights on this car are excellent. They have a great cutoff so that you only light up what you need, and it doesn't, bother you with the rest that you don't need, like other non-projector style headlights. And the HIDs in these are so strong, you can basically light up a forest and you can see it, and it's awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so these are just the fog lights, which are not bad by themselves. Those are The headlights, they look awesome. And that cutoff right there, the light cutoff, it's awesome. And all you need to press is one button and you got the high beams. Very quick. These are my favorite headlights. So those are my top 10 favorite things about my BMW 335D. Now in closing, I did want to point out that only about 9,000 were imported to the US in the 3 years that they were importing them from Germany. And so it's kind of a rare car, so nobody really knows about them, nobody really hears about them. Therefore, they don't get the attention that they deserve. I really do think that this is the best diesel car in America that's been made in the last 15 years. I'm laying that claim. Let me know what you think about that claim. I know I'm going to get a lot of haters, but that's okay. So, what are the favorite things about your car? Put them down below in the comments. See what you got. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't yet, subscribe and like the video. Feel free to share as well if you have a friend that hates on BMWs or hates on diesels. Show them this car. Show them what I love about mine. All right, guys. I'll talk to you next time.
We've both been there before. When a love shuts the door, it's a losing game. It's a losing game. But this time it's more than another lot of war. This ain't the same. This ain't the same. They say